It's time to bet the house because these are my most confident picks for the UFC in 2023. We're talking about locks. We're talking about free money. That's what I'm getting at here. And the only way in which these picks don't go the way that I say they will is if you guys, the fans, bring your banana peels to the fight nights and chuck them in the octagon and the fighters in which I'm picking slip on them and have a weird injury. And before we get into it, I just have to ask you, are you taking care of your health?
It's summer, and if you are running around here looking like Chris Daukaus, then you're not gonna have a good time. And I understand, having a big pot belly is comfortable, but you know what else is comfortable? Being shredded and jacked. And it isn't that difficult. You see, there's a misconception when it comes to dieting that you have to suffer on broiled chicken and broccoli, but that's a whole load of bullshit. You see, our ancestors were eating comfort foods and big hearty meals for all of human history. The only difference is you'd be hard pressed today to find a single comfort food that's not filled with seed oils and soy. And that's why my Real Food Cookbook has been made to deliver you guys comfort foods from around the world. Butter chicken, buffalo chicken wraps, homemade bolognese, homemade ice cream without any soy, and much more, so that you guys can enjoy your favorite comfort foods made with whole and unprocessed ingredients. So whether you're trying to lean out or pack on some muscle, check out my Real Food Cookbook. Use code MMA for 30% off.
All right, Khalil Rountree is going to be our first lock against Chris Daukaus. This is my most confident pick of the entire year. Chris Daukaus is a lightweight fighting at light heavyweight. He isn't cutting enough. Now, he's cutting down from heavyweight, but as I said, we're talking about a guy with a lightweight frame with way too much flab on him. This is a superb photo of him, by the way. I mean, he doesn't even look that great in the cage. This is peak Chris Daukaus. Perfect lighting, perfect angle, and that's what we have to show for it. Looking like a husky welterweight right here, right? But a husky welterweight could still cut down to 155. I wouldn't be surprised if this man can make featherweight, to be honest. And for sure, I understand it's a little risky to put your life in the hands of Khalil Rountree. We've seen him get destroyed a few times, but he's fast, he's powerful, he's explosive. He throws with bad intentions, and he's got the light heavyweight speed against the heavyweight plottiness of Chris Daukaus. Was supposed to be the fast Mr. Speedy Gonzalez in the heavyweight division. Look at what happened. He was the plotty man, but he was the small plotty man at the heavyweight division. You can't have that, especially when you're now cutting down to fight even faster guys. You had Curtis Blades looking like he was Volkanovski out there against Chris Daukaus. He doesn't have a chin. He doesn't have a lot of power in his hands. He doesn't have speed. He doesn't move his head. He's going to go out there and get finished. This guy shouldn't be fighting anymore unless it's in the welterweight division. Chris Daukaus has gotten finished 3 times in a row in the heavyweight division. Like knocked out. That's a lot of damage against big punchers. We're talking about Derek Lewis putting him out. We're talking about Curtis Blades putting him out cold. And then Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I said this when he was going to fight Rozenstruik. It's the most guaranteed money you'll ever have. Rozenstruik's going to knock him out in the first exchange, and that's exactly what happened. And there seems to be a bit of a theme going on here with the people that are beating him, if you know what I mean. So Khalil Rountree's got it in the bag. My next lock is Jalin Turner to beat Dan Hooker. All right, I couldn't be more confident in this pick. Jalin Turner is one of the most underrated, dangerous strikers in the game. He has that like lanky man power, similar to Israel Adesanya, where guys get hit by him a few times, then all of a sudden they're shelling up and waiting to get KO'd. He has crazy power in his hand. He has crazy speed in his hands. He throws in combinations, so he doesn't let you off the hook if he tags you. And I know for a fact that Dan Hooker is susceptible to the body. We've seen this in the Edson Barboza fight. Jalin Turner is excellent with his body work, whether it's with his hands, with his knees. This guy can do it all. Slamming body kicks in there all day. So I'm picking Jalin Turner to destroy Dan Hooker in the first round. So I'm picking Jalin Turner to mince Dan Hooker up and knock him out and TKO him in the first round. And I understand some of you guys might be saying, well, wait a second, Jalin Turner usually has a massive height and reach advantage over all of his opponents. And look at Dan Hooker. This guy is one of the tallest, rangiest lightweights we've ever seen. 6'2", Jalin Turner 6'3". So it's not that big of a difference. It doesn't just boil down to that. There's a massive speed discrepancy between both of these guys. There's a power difference between both of these guys. And as far as the grappling is concerned, I know we've seen Dan Hooker earn that nickname, the Hangman, by wrapping up a few guys and submitting them. But Jalin Turner is solid on the ground as well. We just saw him fight Mateusz Gamrot, and Mateusz Gamrot couldn't do shit to him on the ground. I don't see Jalin Turner getting taken down by Dan Hooker. He's been out here training with Khamzat Chimaev as well. What's most likely going to happen is we're going to see a stand-up battle, a kickboxing exchange between both of these guys. And Dan Hooker has had his fair share of wars with Paul Felder, with Dustin Poirier. This guy has taken so much damage. I honestly think he's beyond the point of no return. And I understand that he's bouncing off of a win against Claudio Puelles. I don't even know how that guy got into the UFC because his striking was disgustingly bad. But we're talking about a massive step up in competition. And I don't think Dan Hooker has ever beaten anyone as good as Jalin Turner. And Jalin Turner, even though he has a big weight cut, has an amazing gas tank. He has a really good chin. Great cardio. I've said this, but I would pick him time and time again to beat Mateusz Gamrot if they fight, 3, 4, 5 times. If that fight goes into the 5th round, he's going to take out Mateusz Gamrot. He arguably won that fight. And yeah, when Dan Hooker gets cracked, Jalin Turner's a finisher. If he hurts Dan Hooker, he's going to finish it off. So that's a lock. Our next lock is Arman Tsarukyan against Joaquim Silva. Now, again, Arman Tsarukyan is one of the best lightweights on the planet. In my opinion, has the skill to be considered a top 5 lightweight. And amazing wins as well. I believe that he beat Mateusz Gamrot and got robbed in that fight. He won 4 rounds out of the 5. He's also got really good wins against Amir Ismagulov, Yoel Alvarez, Matt Frivola, whereas Joaquim Silva's best win is over Jared Gordon. And he's only won 3 out of his last 6 fights. He's on a 500 level streak. Like, he's not very good at all. He shouldn't even be fighting any ranked opponents. And the fact that the UFC gave Arman Tsarukyan a guy like Joaquim Silva is a disgrace to the sport. Arman Tsarukyan should be out here fighting a Fiziev, a Gamrot in a rematch. That's who he should be fighting. Fuck it, even Dustin Poirier or Justin Gaethje. Jalin Turner. But the fact that it's Joaquim Silva, it's going to be a walk in the park. We're going to see Arman Tsarukyan take down Joaquim Silva or just finish him on the feet. It's going to be a finish within the first 2 rounds. Again, the only way Arman loses to this guy, who's a 500 level fighter that's lost to Nasrat Haqparast, is if he slips on a banana peel. So this is a guaranteed win for Arman Tsarukyan. There's no way he loses this. Okay, so I didn't want to put this one first because it was pretty obvious, but Whittaker is our next lock against Dricus du Plessis. All right? The only way Whittaker loses this fight without your banana peels is if he falls down after throwing a kick and Dricus du Plessis falls down after him. Like, he literally slips and has his right hand extended, and it just cracks Whittaker when Whittaker's on his way up. That's how he wins. There's really no way that he would be able to beat Robert Whittaker if both of these guys have like a good old-fashioned MMA chess match. Well, it ain't going to be a chess match. It'll be checkers for Robert Whittaker. He's going to hit Dricus du Plessis time and time again with that piston of a jab. He's going to be smashing his knees with side kicks, with oblique kicks. And he's going to be kicking the legs and setting up that 1-2 high kick all day. And I don't think he'll necessarily finish Dricus because Dricus is really tough and he has underrated cardio. What I mean by that is he looks very tired, but it's just that he has a hard time breathing out of his nose. But think about it. He's always getting the better of his opponents. He's the one coming out on top, even though he's looking tired. I mean, he 10-8'd Darren Till in the first round, finished him in the third. Looked a little bit sloppy against the left hand of Darren Till, but again, you're looking a little bit sloppy against the left hand of Darren Till in the second round, a guy that can't mix it up. What about Robert Whittaker that has like 5 or 6 weapons that he's very competent with? Dricus du Plessis is used to fighting middleweights that don't really have many tools on the feet. Robert Whittaker has an amazing jab, an amazing right hand, a high kick, really good kicks to the knee, good side kicks to the body. And he has the wrestling on top of that, and he can mix that in like he was able to do to Marvin Vettori in the third round, shooting a blast double leg down the pipe. He's just way more skilled. The one advantage that Dricus has, he might have a little bit more pop in his hands. He has a pretty good chin, but like, I don't care how many wins you have outside of the UFC over guys like Roberto Soldic. It doesn't mean shit because, again, the middleweight division isn't very good throughout all of MMA. And Robert Whittaker is one of the only guys that is truly at a high level in this division. Him and Adesanya. That's really it. Everyone else is a cut below. So Robert Whittaker is just going to make this man pay every time he tries to close the distance. He'll just kind of be there all night for a beating. Yeah, it's an easy win for Whittaker without a doubt. All right, Tom Aspinall is our next lock against Marcin Tybura, the tubby man himself, the upper echelon Parker Porter, right? He's one of the 3 musketeers, Parker Porter, Chase Sherman, one of the carbon copy, tubby, heavyweights against a guy that's actually really fucking good in the heavyweight division, and we only have a few of them. So I've never been wowed by Marcin Tybura. I probably never will be wowed by him, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to him by any means, but I mean, come on. There's no way that he's going to be able to pull this off. He doesn't have any crazy power. He doesn't have any crazy speed. His grappling is probably subpar. And Tom Aspinall is literally, as I said, one of the only heavyweights that's really very skilled. There's only a few of them, right? They're in the top 5. After the top 5, it's a graveyard for skill. How are you going to pick this man to beat Tom Aspinall? And I know you can make the argument that Aspinall is coming off of a bad injury. This could affect his career negatively, but he's been saying otherwise. He's been out here talking about how this has opened up the gates and he's actually able to skill build now that his knee has recovered, and that before he was being held back and he wasn't able to, pull off certain techniques and whatnot. I think that is probably more likely, that this guy is young enough to be able to recover from something like that. He's taken a whole year off. He's probably going to go in there and smoke Marcin Tybura in the first round. This is the riskiest one, guys. And I know it's a little bit contradictory for me to say it's a lock, but I really do think that Brandon Moreno is going to go out here and beat Alexandre Pantoja pretty easily. And I understand Pantoja has a couple of wins over Brandon Moreno, but you have to take this into account. Pantoja was 28 when he last beat Brandon Moreno, whereas Brandon Moreno, who is 29 today, was 25. And we know that there has never been a champion in the lighter weight classes below 155 at the age of 35. You know what I mean? The oldest man that has ever held a belt in those divisions was Deiveson Figueiredo, 34 years old. And he was 35 when he last fought Brandon Moreno, and he looked terrible in that fight. He looked like he had completely lost his edge, completely lost his speed. And Moreno was 25 when he lost to Pantoja. And I understand, Pantoja's gotten better, but he was damn near closer to his prime than he is now. Like, his prime years are probably 29, 30, 31. He's now 33. And Brandon Moreno has gotten so much better. He looked like Mr. Sloppy Man on the feet. I mean, if you just looked at a blurred out Brandon Moreno back when he was 25 fighting Pantoja, you wouldn't even be able to recognize him. You know what I mean? He's gotten that much better, and his grappling has leveled up big time. And again, I understand Pantoja's gotten better, but not as much as Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno is as solid, as well-rounded as it gets. We've seen him take on a killer on the ground multiple times in Deiveson Figueiredo. You know what I mean? And Pantoja's coming off of a good win over Alex Perez. But, it's like Alex Perez isn't that great. And he's lost to Askar Askarov. Askar Askarov is, very underwhelming. I think that Brandon Moreno is one of the best fighters in MMA right now. His stand-up is perfect. His grappling is damn near perfect. His wrestling is solid. So it's most likely going to be a bit of a stand-up battle. Brandon Moreno is going to be able to scramble with Alexandre Pantoja when he tries to take him down and try to submit him. And that's not going to work out, and he'll just get pieced up on the feet and probably TKO'd. Again, Brandon Moreno was a tadpole when he was fighting Pantoja. He looked sloppy compared to how he does now. Pantoja looked good back then. And again, 28 years old, pretty much in his prime. And now, 33, which is pretty old for a flyweight. And we know that the oldest flyweight champion ever in the UFC was Figueiredo, and he was 34. And even then, he didn't look that great. Even then, he looked like a far cry from what he used to be back in the day. All right, our final lock is Jon Jones against Stipe Miocic. I think Jones is going to go out there and completely tear Stipe's legs up to pieces. And I also don't think Stipe is that dedicated at this point in his career. I mean, why is he so difficult to get into the octagon? This is a fight that should have been signed and ready to go 3 months ago. It's likely that he's got 2 feet out of the game, and in order for the UFC to make him commit to at least dipping a fucking toe back in is by giving him millions of dollars. Stipe probably doesn't even want to train. And we already know most heavyweights only train for their training camps. So I really don't even care that much about this fight, but Jones is at least going to do everything in his power to take out Stipe because it'll look amazing on his resume. I don't think Stipe gives that much of a fuck anymore. And I'm sure Stipe will train hard once he actually decides to sign a contract. But until then, I'm not convinced that this guy's even fucking in the gym, to be honest. And another thing I want to mention is that Jon Jones is a guy that's going to kick this man's legs to shreds. Stipe Miocic has not fought a guy that's going to stay at range and kick him. And that's what Jon Jones does better than anyone else in the upper weight classes. That's his bread and butter, his kicks. And he's going to take away the movement of Stipe. He's going to destroy his legs, destroy his body. And in the second, third, fourth round, Stipe is going to be staggering around like a man that needs a cane, just ready to get taken down and destroyed and TKO'd on the ground or submitted. So, yes, he will offer some issues for Jon Jones early on when it comes to takedown defense. But I don't think Jones is going to get hit all that much by Stipe when he can just smash his legs to pieces. And Stipe's old as fuck, and there's already a skill discrepancy between light heavyweights and heavyweights. And surprise, surprise, Jon Jones is the best light heavyweight that there ever was. So that skill discrepancy becomes even more noticeable. And on top of that, Jones doesn't get enough credit for beating Ciryl Gane. People are acting like Gane was an easy breeze in the park. You know what I mean? And I picked Gane to beat Jon Jones. I thought he was going to go out there, stuff the takedowns, and piece Jon Jones up and show him that, the game has evolved and show him that he's the new breed. He's the LeBron James and Jones is an old Wizards Michael Jordan. And that didn't happen. But I'm not delusional enough to sit here and act like, yeah, Ciryl Gane ain't shit just because he lost to Jones. Like, that's a testament to how good Jon Jones is. You could make the argument that before Gane lost to Jones, he was the rightful heavyweight champ, that he had gotten robbed against Francis Ngannou and actually edged out that fifth round and was undefeated in MMA. So that's a fantastic win. We're acting like he didn't just take out the rightful heavyweight champ, which is just crazy to me. People are discrediting him big time. I think Jones is going to have his way with old man Stipe. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until next time.